Welcome to the Wise Take DFS Podcast. I am your host, CK013. You can find me on Twitter at CK_013. And today we're going to bring you the solo pod. First time we are doing a solo pod for the MLB season. We've obviously grown so much as a podcast and, of course, now as a company. I started the Wise Take podcast as only a podcast, and we were putting it up on YouTube, and it was just me, no guests. It was just me talking about basketball, breaking down the slates, and started off with 0 subscribers and 0 people listening, and we've grown into something I'm pretty proud of in the short time we've been doing this. So we've come a long way, but still, I like to stick with my roots every once in a while. I figured football's here, and our guys have been pumping out amazing content just constantly, man. We've done just awesome. The football stuff has been on fire. The baseball stuff, we're doing streams 5 days a week for baseball. Monday through Friday, we do live streams for our members. We do a Saturday, we do a football one where we kind of really, and we leave them archived so that people have time to go back and watch if you couldn't make the actual stream itself. So between that, man, new baseball articles every day, cash game GPP articles every day. Gady's doing his stuff for the NFL and MLB. Everybody, man, they're all just putting it into work. And so I wanted to give them a little bit of time off from the podcast. And I figured, man, this is something I'd love to go back and do a solo podcast. I haven't done one in a long time. And things have changed, man. Back then, there would be a big screen of just myself, and it's kind of like awkward, probably for even people to watch. But now, got this cool little feature here. I make these cool little graphics, and we can show my screen on there. If you're listening on the audio-only version, you're not missing anything by not seeing my screen. I'm not showing anything other than the FanDuel and DraftKings pages, just to see salaries and kind of go position by position. I'm not going to go game by game. It's just me, and there's not enough games anyway, so I always like to go position by position anyway. I always feel more comfortable that way, so we're going to go position by position today, and I'm just going to show the screen, and it's going to have a FanDuel, the DraftKings page, and just to give you a visual, I know as my buddy Scott would say, people like visuals, so if you're going to watch, you'll see me, but you'll also see something to look at. But if you're listening to the audio only, you're completely fine. You're not missing out on anything else. Also, we are trying to grow our Facebook presence. I've been a little unhappy, we'll say, with the Facebook likes. I think it's around 200 or so, and to me, that's kind of weak considering the community we have and where we should be. So, what we've started doing is I'm started to release these short videos, just real short videos of either a tip or strategy. Maybe someday it's not tip or strategies at all. Maybe one day it's just going to be a rant, or maybe one day it's just going to be Patio Joe just saying hello to you guys. But we're going to be trying to pump out some videos specifically for Facebook, only for Facebook. So the only way you'll be able to see those videos is to go to WiseTake, and they are completely free. You got to go to facebook.com/WiseTake. That's facebook.com/WiseTake. Go there, like the page, and then you'll get a video pop up on your Facebook feed Monday through Friday. And yeah, man, so that's what we're doing to try to grow our Facebook presence. So do us a favor and go over there and like us. People haven't been liking us. We seem to have a decent following on YouTube and Twitter and Podbean and all those other things, but we didn't have a decent one on Facebook, which is a big one. So we didn't like that. So being very transparent with you guys, I'm telling you guys, I'm giving you a reason. I'm not just telling you, I'm giving you a good reason to go over there and do that. So do us that favor, guys. All right, so it's a short slate. I think that's 7 games? Something like that. So definitely manageable here. And what we're going to do is I have FanDuel and I have DraftKings both pulled up just in case we have to touch on a discrepancy or something. But let's start off with some pitchers. We got Clayton Kershaw, in my opinion, probably your cash option. It looks like in his last start, they let him throw about 90 pitches, and he went pretty far with the 90 pitches. We got a matchup with Philly. Philly's been kind of hot. The ball game is in Philly, which I'm not a fan of because of the small dimensions, but still, they do strike out a ton, and it's Clayton Kershaw, so I think 12-1 on FanDuel, he's still reachable. On DraftKings, it might be more of a debate because he is 13-7, but I still think he's far and above the safest option out of everybody tonight. The only other guy, I guess if you just, to me, you're just playing Kershaw in cash, and I think enough people will do that to justify that, even if he doesn't, hit his value, because it's going to be tough for him to hit value with the limit. Of course, we don't know. Maybe they say they're going to let him go 100 today, which would be closer to the norm of what he always pitched. But anyway, in my opinion, Kershaw is your cash game guy. GPP's point per dollar doesn't really make sense, especially with the limit. You're concerned about that maybe you're missing out on some of his full potential ceiling, yet you might feel like you're paying for a lot of his full potential price. So it is, as messed up as it is kind of a discount you're getting anyway on both sites, even though they're super expensive. But yeah, Kershaw for me, cash game play. Corbin for tournaments is interesting at 9.5 against the Padres. He struggled against them before in the past, but he's also had a good game against them before that. So I know that his stats might say that he's pitched better this year at home, and I get it, but it's still such a huge park upgrade against a team coming out of Coors that strikes out a ton. And I think people might look at his game log and get scared away from him. Because people were on him against the Padres, and the last time he went against the Padres, he didn't do well. -2 on FanDuel. He got 8 earned runs, only 3 strikeouts, and 4 in a third. And he's 9.5 on DraftKings. On FanDuel. On 9.6 on DraftKings. So he's kind of expensive. So I think maybe people might not want to go back to him this time. I could be wrong. I'm just thinking that because he got burned, because he might have burned everybody last time. If that happens, he becomes a great tournament option. Still worth consideration in tournaments regardless, just because the Padres do strike out a ton. And more importantly to me, they're coming out of Coors, and we've seen teams kind of get sluggish. I know that the Padres have had some time off, but in between. But still, I think that it's something that an option we can consider, just because it's the Padres, man. Let's be real. Corbin's got some K upside. Dylan Bundy's a guy that we've been playing a lot at Wise Take lately. I just don't like targeting teams against Boston. Don't get me wrong, Bundy seems to be a guy, if anybody, that gets teams that don't strike out, quote unquote, to strike out. We saw him destroy the Angels, a team that strikes out one of the least in baseball, and we saw what Bundy did to him. So definitely in play. It's just something that I'm going to have a hard time doing, because Boston really doesn't strike out, and they seem like they may be starting to heat up a bit. Santana against the Yankees, it's too expensive for the risk. Small park, you got some good hitters. Yankees have been heating up again lately, so don't know if that's a direction that I'm heading in. Doug Fister is a guy I wanted to talk about for sure. Now, he's actually a guy that I have some interest in. He's 7.8 on FanDuel, so I think that's where I like him more. On DraftKings, he's 8.4, so the value is really on FanDuel. You can play him on DraftKings. I'm just talking about I like him more on FanDuel because of the value. He's 7.8, and if you look at his game logs, I was on Oakland, don't get me wrong, when they blew him up the other day, so I was on that, but that was it was more of a situational thing, the reacting to the line movement and things like that, because when you look at his game logs, he was pitching so well before that game, and I don't necessarily know if I want to let one bad game kind of throw me off, because the A's were also kind of hot when he saw them. So now Fister has a matchup against Baltimore, who hasn't really been hot, and they have kind of struggled, and they strike out a ton. So I definitely like Fister, man. I think 7.8. I'll look into the numbers a little deeper tomorrow, but I'm liking what I'm seeing so far. First look with Fister. Then you got Perdomo, Straley, and Perdomo, I know, pitches better at home, and Arizona's worse on the road. So he's somebody I'll keep an eye on. Maybe more so on DraftKings, where we got to play 2 pitchers because of the pricing. But 7-1, I get it. I'm just concerned about a ceiling there if he's your only pitching option. And pitcher is usually where you want most of your points to come from, right? Or at least you expect a lot of your points to come from, right? Straley against the Mets. I played Straley a bunch this year. He's done great for me. I'm not picking on the Mets. The other day had a great lineup ruined because I decided to play R.A. Dickey against these Mets. They're not striking out enough. And they're hitting, man. They're playing small ball. They're small balling people to death. So I think it's a decent spot on paper. It's just the Mets are really, I just don't want to attack the Mets right now. It's as weird as that is, even though it's pretty much a bunch of minor league guys. That's where I'm at. Jaime Garcia revenge. Can I talk you into some Jaime Garcia revenge? I'm just kidding. I'm not going to do it. His ground ball rate's respectable, but his K rate has been down, and Minnesota's been mashing lefties for the most part, especially Dozier and some of these guys. So and Buxton. So It's a small park. I just don't see a need to go there. I would much rather just pay up a little bit more and get Fister at that point. From the lower tier, you could go after Suter. Paulie has been talking about how Pittsburgh for a while. They were struggling against lefties in terms of like striking out more. Definitely feel free to go check with Paulie and see if that's been the case, because I really haven't been keeping too much track of Pittsburgh. I don't typically like targeting them in general. But yeah, I think Suter was kind of like a hot take topic for a lot of people, I think, and he didn't do well. But that was in Milwaukee, so he gets a big park upgrade here. The guy that probably will get a little bit more attention is Steven Brault down at this tier. As you can see, Steven Brault is 6'1" on FanDuel, and I think he's really cheap on DraftKings too. Yeah, 5'9" on DraftKings, great value. He just pitched well against these Brewers in Milwaukee, which is a smaller park. I clicked on Suter. He just pitched well against Milwaukee, which is a smaller park. He got 46 FanDuel points, 6 strikeouts, 6 innings pitched. And now he gets a park upgrade. So the people who do pay attention to the game logs, they might catch this. And we can see a tiny little ownership inflation. But if the ownership isn't probably where it should be on this kid, then we might want to expose ourselves more, especially on DraftKings. I would imagine on DraftKings, I don't think he's going to be as sneaky, of course. FanDuel is probably the place where his ownership will be the lowest, just because you only get one shot at pitcher. So a lot of people really, really they're so afraid to take a risk there. And I get it. In tournaments I'm talking about. But I think that Steven Brault for Pittsburgh is in play against Milwaukee. I do. He hasn't shown much. That was like his best game that I've seen, I believe. Let's take a look at his logs. Yeah, that was definitely his best game by far. Well, he hasn't really had too many opportunities, but I'd be interested to give him a shot at home. But I think both those guys at their prices are worth consideration. Got to look at them. Farmer just hasn't shown enough upside, and he hasn't really had a long enough leash for me to be into him, even against Oakland. Plus, Oakland's been hot. I'd like to pick on Pivetta and Harvey, but we'll get there when we go on. Moving on to catchers, Gary the GOAT has been kind of changing the mold on FanDuel for the cash game template, the traditional pay down at catcher. That hasn't really been working with Gary. So he's kind of changed the mold. In cash games, I would probably play him anyway, unless we get one of these guys batting higher in the order, like that you could super punt, right? Like if you're going to punt here, punt all the way in cash games. Like either play Gary the GOAT or just punt all the way, because if Gary hits a home run, he's going to be popular. People just love playing this guy. I like playing the guy. And if he hits a home run, you're going to be behind so much of a percentage of the field. So he's the one guy that kind of changes the mold. As far as tournaments, I think he's in play. I think in this case, I'd probably play Gary in a stack. If I decided to play Gary in a tournament, I'd probably play him in a stack, because my approach would then be I'm going to play some of his other expensive teammates to differentiate my lineup a little bit. And because I think people will primarily use Gary as a one-off, just because catcher is so weak and he's so clearly the best talent on the board there, like he is most nights. So I think in tournaments it'd be a stack for Gary. But Realmuto against Harvey, again, only a stack, because I don't think he has enough upside alone to make me want to play him as a one-off. So I prefer him in a stack, but definitely in play against Matt Harvey, assuming Matt Harvey is the one pitching. Even Maxwell on FanDuel 2.8 is kind of expensive for me. Grandal will probably get some attention against Pivetta, rightfully so. People love playing the Dodgers in general. They're a very popular team, and so Grandal is their catcher, so by default he kind of gets thrown in the mix, even though he hasn't been all that impressive lately. You can certainly consider Pina if he ends up playing against the lefty, but I don't know if in cash games you want to rely on that. But in tournaments, potentially. Like I said, one guy, like a super punt, if he plays against, like Mitch Garver against Jaime, I think could be enticing if he bats higher in the order, but we don't know anything about it. And that's the thing about it, is a lot of times these lineups will change your opinion on a cash game or a GPP player. Like maybe you like this guy for cash games, you find out now he's batting in the bottom of the order. Oh, now I like him for GPPs because he's in a good spot still, but he's going to have less ownership. But he's not going to get enough opportunities to make me feel like he's safe. You understand? So, yeah. Anyway, I'm with it, man. I think in cash games, Gary the GOAT's probably the best bet. But in tournaments, I always like to pick my catcher with a stack, unless I'm super punting and then I'm just taking the cheapest guy on the board in the best possible spot. But I'm willing to take a goose egg at that point. Moving on to first base, we got Cody Bellinger against Pivetta. Certainly a fine play. Not trying to downgrade that. Not trying to take anything away from that. But I do have to point out, we'll take a look at his game logs real quick just to see what he's been doing. He's been red hot. Oh, my gosh. 0 for 4 against the Nationals on the 17th, which was today. But yesterday for you guys listening. But before that, his game log is ridiculous. Those of you listening, I'm going to read it to you. On the 16th, he had 28 FanDuel points, and then 18, and then 40, and then 18. The guy's just been red hot. So Bellinger's certainly in a great spot. He's expensive. You're paying for him. But he seems to be pretty damn worth it, in my opinion. 5-1 on DraftKings. Of course, you can choose to play him in the outfield, which I like to do because first base is so loaded. Usually I'll take a first baseman that I can normally play in the outfield. I'll throw him out there. It's something I like to do. Matt Olson, another guy, man, that's been super hot lately, man. He's been mashing right-handed pitching. He's a lefty bat. His game logs 18, 18, 22, and 3, 28, 6, 31, 25, 21. He's been real high lately, and his price reflects it. The A's in general have been hot. I like Olson a lot here. I like the A's in general because if they can get to Buck Farmer, what's behind Buck Farmer? A terrible bullpen. So definitely think also I love this top tier. And the thing is, because we have Kershaw going, if too many people decide to pay up for pitcher, they may not be able to afford some of these super expensive guys. They might try to settle with guys that are maybe a little bit cheaper, and I think you can find some value in that. Chase Headley is 4K against Santana. He hasn't been nearly as hot, so I'm concerned. He's been doing okay. He's been hot in real baseball, but in DFS, he really hasn't done all that much to make you think that's warranted. So I think that's interesting. I wonder if there's any sort of BVP that FanDuel is trying to factor in there. And I think we can let's compare what he is on DraftKings. That's super surprising to me. He's 3.7 on DraftKings, so he's pretty cheap on DraftKings, and FanDuel has him at 4K, so that's a little strange to me. But you have the short porch, and he'll be low owned. People don't like paying up for Headley. People don't like playing Headley usually, but they definitely aren't going to want to pay up for Headley. Will Myers, another guy, man, that's just been he had a little hot streak, and then he really didn't do much. Then he just hasn't really shown too much upside or ceiling. And he's 3A. He's not super cheap. He's got Corbin. I guess if you really want to get super contrarian and stack the Padres, that's the thing that I did last year that worked for me. I got away from it a little bit this year, but I know Josh, a.k.a. Cash and DFS, has been working for him a little bit from time to time. He seems to have a pretty good feel for the Padres. I just think there are other bats that I like. I don't know if I want to go there. Definitely not in cash. So cash game players, you're not even thinking about a lot of these Padres unless you're looking for a punt somewhere. But tournament guys, it's again, for me, Padre guys, it's sack it or leave it. There's not really much one-off opportunity there. And it's a limited ballpark. So I'm just not a fan of it in this particular spot. You got Thames, of course. The dude's got enough power, but it's a lefty, so he might not play. I'm really crazy about Mauer. Justin Bohr, I think, is a solid play. He's at home. Harvey's been completely terrible. We've talked about that. So I think he's in play. Let me see here. Any punt options? Nobody's super cheap that stands out. Stands out to me right away on FanDuel. On DraftKings, of course, Rhys Hoskins is first base eligible on DraftKings. Probably wouldn't play him, and I definitely wouldn't play him at first base tomorrow. Again, probably wouldn't play him at all, but I definitely wouldn't play him at first base. But pretty much the same stuff applies. I kind of like the same plays there. Let's move on to second base. D. Gordon, man, is a guy that he's too expensive probably to hit your cash games with Kershaw. We talked about Gary, but he's a guy that typically gets a lot of opportunities, and I think that's why he's expensive, right? He's not getting you a ton of home runs. He's got 2 home runs this year. He's not your guy for that, but he gets a lot of stolen bases, which I certainly think is in play with either Plawecki or Darno behind the plate. I think that's definitely doable. It's Matt Harvey. He's not striking out a ton of people, and D. Gordon doesn't strike out a lot. So he seems relatively safe, and that's what you're kind of paying for. He does have upside, but his upside is different. It's through how many times he gets on base, how many steals he gets, how many times he gets driven home, more importantly. That's what you're looking at with D. And 4-1's a lot to swallow for that, salary-wise. But D Gordon's another guy I love playing in a Miami stack. Yeah, I think that's kind of where you play him. But you definitely need him in a stack because he doesn't do a lot of. He's not going to hit you like a ton of home runs. Like Trey Turner is another one of those stolen base on base guys, but he can hit home runs. He can hit home runs pretty well. So that's a whole different scenario. Like Trey Turner's a guy I will play as a one-off. D Gordon, I wouldn't. To me, he's a stack kind of guy. Jed Lowry, as Joe calls him, cash game porn, super expensive, 4K, man. That's how hot these A's have been. They've been red hot. And I'm going to read you his game logs to tell you how hot he's been. 18-9-6, not so great. But before that, 31-12, 6, 15-6, 18-24. So for him, that's good. Is that good enough to be 4K? I don't necessarily know, especially not when we have like Brian Dozier against a lefty. And, well, I guess aside from that, it's actually pretty weak. So I guess that's why he's priced up because second base is kind of weaker than it has been lately. One guy that I think we have to consider, I want to call him out. Well, first of all, Dozier has a lefty. I've talked on the live streams about how good Dozier actually is against lefties and at home against lefties. He's on the road, but it's still a lefty. I'll take it. I still like Dozier. He's been hot anyway. The guy I really wanted to talk about, though, Neil Walker, I think in tournaments is a very intriguing option. Had a big game against Miami. Of course, that game was in Milwaukee, despite what it says. Miami Stadium wasn't ready. But if you like narratives, Walker was a Pirate for a long time, really didn't want to leave the Pirates organization. And when he went to the Mets, this dude just went off every time that he played the Pirates. So he didn't have the greatest series against them now that he's with Milwaukee. But he's going back to Pittsburgh, and they usually, they've honored him in the past there and stuff. And so he's done pretty well in Pittsburgh, too. So I'm hoping that narrative stays strong, so to speak. I know in baseball, I always talk about how narratives aren't nearly as reliable, and I 100% believe that still. But sometimes guys just like the park. Sometimes guys prefer park, and Walker has played well there. So I think Walker is certainly in play on both formats. Both sides. Of course, you can always go down and try to super punt. I think Gavin Caccini maybe might play. I don't know. We've been seeing some action from him. But yeah, man, those are just some of the first takes of a little bit about these guys. We could talk about third base now. Justin Turner against Pivetta. I think that's definitely a solid play. He's 4K. I don't think people like to pay up. The problem is he's the most expensive option. And so when people see an ugly position, your average player will just pay up for the most expensive guy and just assume he must have been the best play on the slate. So I would imagine that him, Frazier, and Cabrera, those three options, and again, it's not anything crazy, but those are going to be your popular options, right? So we might want to get a little bit different. You want to differentiate your lineup a little bit. Go a little lower and see what else we got. I mean, yeah, Castellanos, certainly with a shot. I think it's too much that I would pay for that guy of that caliber right now. But Eduardo Escobar, 3-2. He's been hitting well against lefties lately. He hasn't done so well this season, but lately he's been pretty damn hot, as you can see. I wouldn't mind him. Dietrich's a guy that's been playing well. He's got Matt Harvey. Matt Harvey is just completely terrible. So that's another guy we can consider in general. So for tournaments, maybe get a little bit different. If you know everybody's automatically going to pay up, maybe we get a little bit different. You don't want to get stupid. You don't want to play a guy that's a bad play just because he's different. Not every contrarian play is a good play. A play is not good because it's contrarian. It's got to be a good play too, a good actual play. Jake Lamb is super cheap. Damn, he must have been really bad lately. If he's that damn, oh yeah, he's been horrible. He's been just complete shit. But we know he has upside in his Perdomo. I'm not totally sold on him, although Perdomo does have decent ground ball rates. I want to check into the splits tomorrow to see if those ground ball rates sustain for everybody or if it's towards a certain split. But you can get a little different, man. There's some options, but it's ugly, right? Like in tournaments, you don't want to play like freaking what am I trying to say? Matt Chapman, right? You don't want to play Matt Chapman at third base over like Manny Machado or Todd Frazier or Justin Turner or Devers or any of these guys. But it's going to be a different lineup build, right? I think a lot of these people are going to pay down. But there's still some options. You can probably go with a guy like, I think Devers is actually intriguing to me against, it's Bundy. He's been pitching well, but he's worth a shot. But I think my favorite guy so far, probably Escobar, just because he's been hot. And I've been a fan of the Twins lately. I really have. Moving on to shortstop, Jose Reyes is the most expensive option on the board. Nobody would have thought that would ever come a day where that would be the case this season. But look at those game logs. I'll read it to you for the guys not watching. 18-3, 21-24, 6-25, 3, 40, 10, 12. Those are his game logs lately. It seems like when the Mets gave up, and like we always talk about positive and negative regression, and Jose Reyes, of anybody, was definitely due for some positive regression. The problem that I think the reason that nobody really picked up on this was because they just assumed that at his age that he's probably just washed up, and he is. You get depreciation on players as well, like any other asset. So he's going to depreciate. He's not as good as he was when he was a kid. He's openly admitted that. But we're starting to see a lot of that positive regression. I don't know if it's because there's no pressure anymore now that the Mets are not playing for anything. Maybe Jose knows that his career's coming to an end soon, so maybe he's just winding it down. I really have no idea. But just take note, this dude has been red hot. He was one of the worst players you could possibly play for almost the whole season, but lately he has seemed to just woke up. Didi Gregorius at 3-6 against Santana. I think he's in play. Anytime you got Didi against a righty at home, he's in play, and he's been red hot too. 18, 38, 32. He's having a fantastic season, and he has that short porch at home. So I do like Didi a lot. The rest of the shortstops, other than Seager, I think Seager, he's still on FanDuel, he's still underpriced severely. He's put together a couple big games, so I'm surprised. Like, they raised his price a little bit, but not much. He had 2 rough games, but before that, he put together like some decent games. So he's still value. I think he'll be super popular as to put with Kershaw. I think a lot of people will like to do that. So keep that in mind going forward. Other than that, these other guys I'd probably prefer to play with a stack, like Semien, Bogarts, even Beckham. Like, I'd prefer them probably in stacks. I think if you want to stack Dozier and Polanco, I love doing that 1-3. I always talk about the 1-3, the 2-4. I like to kind of skip one in the middle if it's a mini stack. Only if it's a mini stack. If it's a full stack, I don't have any rules like that. I'll play the 1-3, 4-5 or whatever. Or I don't skip 2 just because. I'll just play the guys I like the best that are hitting around the guy, my main guy. So the rest of these shortstops I think are fine, probably in a stack or something like that. Just like I said with catcher, those are positions I typically like to do that with. But I like Polanco and Dozier. That little stack combination has been doing me well lately, so I kind of like that. Moving on to outfielders, JD Martinez continues to just be an animal. Look, that you want to talk about like hot. 1-0. Other than that, man, just phenomenal. Double digits since September 8th. This dude has just owned September. Of course, September 4th, we saw the 81-point game. Since the month of September has come, JD has just been ridiculously hot. 4,700 on FanDuel. On DraftKings, looks like he's 5'6", which is probably more like it, to be honest. Definitely in play, but the thing about it, the people playing Kershaw, the people playing Corbin, they're not going to be able to play all these guys together, right? So keep them in mind. Mookie bets against Bundy. It looks like Mookie is day-to-day with a thumb, but Mookie seems to maybe have found his stride too. He put up a 60 burger not too long ago. So if you want to talk about guys with ceilings, man, there's a couple guys. There's another one, Aaron Judge, another elite option, man. 57 points the other day, 43 a couple days before that, man. Another guy that's just been red hot. Great options. Chris Davis is a guy that I think has been struggling a bit lately, and his team has been hot, so it's kind of funny. And he's not struggling terribly. He's still getting hits. He just hasn't really hit a home run in a few days, which isn't characteristic of him. But gotta love Chris Davis. Compared to all these guys up top, he'll probably be one of the guys with the least amount of ownership. Still has a decent matchup. He's got Buck Farmer and then a terrible bullpen, so I kind of like Chris Davis here. Giancarlo Stanton, 4K against Matt Harvey. Seems like he's kind of come down to earth, so to speak. We'll just say, but it is Matt Harvey, so anything can happen. His ownership has been low. Before he got hot and started hitting all those home runs, people never played Stanton. Like, it took him having a crazy streak to become chalk to finally cool down. But people never do. Eddie Rosario, lefties, righties, it's lefty on lefty. It doesn't matter. This two lefties, righties, it doesn't matter. The Twins are another one of those teams that have just been heating up. And so even against the lefty in tournaments, I think he's fine. Joyce, another one, man. A lot of hot hitters lately. Now that I'm looking at this, I'm seeing it. It's like a lot of these guys have been red hot. Joyce is another one. I can show you what Joyce has been doing and tell you. 12, 0, 22, 0, 6, 6, 27, 0, 25, 12, 31. These guys, it's September, man. September comes and then we start seeing a lot of these guys put together some consistent streaks. So I definitely think Joyce would be great as a stack. Usually leads off. I think that's a solid way to go. Don't mind the Yankees, Gardner and these guys. Puig, I like him against righties. I'd like to see him bat fifth again. That was nice, but I wouldn't mind maybe a little stack, especially if you decide to put him with Turner. If he's batting like fifth, like I had the Turner, the 3.5 the other day when they both hit home runs, and it's just beautiful when that thing works out. We could scroll down. We could talk about guys all day. Byron Buxton's price has come down, and it is still a lefty. He still matches lefties. I'm not sure why it came down so drastically, because if you look at his game logs, 34-0, 15, 24-3, 9, 12, 21, he's been pretty hot, right? Like he's had a couple games where against lefties were disappointed. He was chalk one day and it didn't do well for us, but for the most part, he's been still matching lefties. So I don't know why on FanDuel he's gone down, because they had him up there for a while, and all of a sudden now he's down. Like he's 4-6 on FanDuel. I think that's more appropriate. So I think he's a decent value. He'll probably be popular. Here we go. Rhys Hoskins. You want to get Rhys Hoskins for $3K? Gets a matchup with Kershaw, but dude's been just lights out, man. Just been tremendous upside, but it's Kershaw. That's why he's $3K. That should tell you something about how he's been. That he's even $3K against Kershaw, because these other guys are priced down ridiculous. They got Seager. Oh, okay. No. I'm sorry. Mixed that up. Odubel Herrera, those $3K, and I think he's a lefty on left. It's not even that great of a spot, so maybe not. A lot of guys on FanDuel the mid-tier, but we talked about the studs up top, so I think an approach that I might try, I kind of like Fister. Maybe if I can get Fister and like kind of pay up for my batters that are hot. Like I just want all the hot hitters, and just like the guys that are super expensive, because I'm going to take the approach that most people won't feel comfortable paying down for pitcher, especially on FanDuel. And so just assuming that they're all going to be limited on salary, I want to find my edge by getting a better point per dollar on my pitcher and getting my edge by being able to afford bats that they can afford. Yeah, so I think that might be the route I go. So anyway, guys, that's pretty much it. It was short. Hopefully you found it somewhat informative more than anything. It's not so much about the opinions. It's more so about the breakdown, just kind of going through it together, giving a first impression, and just discussing the possible outcomes. If you guys want more content, more premium stuff, more deeper dives, deeper conversations, deeper streams, things like that, head over to wisetake.com and sign up, man. We still got day passes. We've got week passes. Obviously, we're not selling the month pass anymore because it's just about to end. But we still got a couple weeks, man. Head over. We've been winning. Our members have been winning. We've been getting the screenshots going. Go check us out at wise_take. Go to wisetake.com and read us on our homepage. If you scroll to the bottom, you'll see some of our testimonials, screenshots, and tweets we've gotten from our members, from our community. It's a great community, man. It takes community. We got great guys in the chat. We got great stuff in general. Just doing all kinds of stuff. The content here is just amazing, man. I couldn't be happier with the stuff that I get from and the work ethic that my guys have, and they enjoy what they do. They're passionate about what they do. They're passionate about DFS. So communities help, man. Bouncing ideas off each other. We have tools in addition to that. So the combination of our guys giving great content, the combination of our data experts providing us with premium data, and of course the community aspect that the subscribers bring. Or come in here and talk about a slate before the slate, bounce some ideas off each other, go over a few stats together. It helps, man. They always say, 2 minds are better than 1, 3 better than 2, etc. It's true, man, especially for fantasy. So don't waste your money. If you're playing FanDuel, DraftKings, and you're not winning, come over, man. I guarantee you, you hang out with us for a little while, and I guarantee you'll be a better player in the end. Don't forget, guys, go to facebook.com and check out these videos that we're sharing. 1 video a day. I'm going to try to do it during the week. So like Monday through Friday. Maybe I might skip a day or 2. Who knows? But for the most part, go check it out, man. It's some pretty cool stuff. Short videos. Won't take much of your time. Like them. Share them. Get the word out about us. We appreciate it. Also, if you go to wisetake.com and you do decide to get anything, day pass, if you want to sign up for NFL, we still got the NFL stuff. NFL pod is Wednesday night live. We'll discuss the time, but it will be live and free for you guys. Those are always a lot of fun. But if you want to check us out, use promo code Twitter or use promo code Facebook and save 10% off any of the packages that you wish to try. So do that for us and head over there and show us some support and check us out. I promise you, man, come see what we got. Come buy a day pass. You'll like what you got. If you're watching on YouTube, please click that thumbs up. That like button means a lot to us. If you're listening on Podbean or iTunes, the audio-only version, like us on Podbean, follow us on Podbean, however it works. But on iTunes, do us a favor, give us some 5-star reviews. We need the 5-star reviews to kind of bump up those charts. That's how people get kind of found. So we want to build some momentum up. If you don't listen to us on iTunes, but you listen to the podcast and you're a fan of ours and you appreciate what we're doing, the show, and you like to listen, you like to watch, head over to iTunes anyway and give us some 5-star reviews and just talk about how great the podcast is, because it's not like it's two separate quality. It's the same thing. It's just one you can see and one you can't. So anyway, guys, that's going to do it for me today. If you are a member of the nation, the Wise Take Nation, you guys will see me tomorrow. I'll talk to you tomorrow in the chat, and of course on the Wise stream that we do at 5:30 to break down this slate. Other than that, as always, good luck.
Yeah.